and then we'll vote on it by the time Veronica is here. But we do have, not Veronica, Joanne, I'm sorry, but we do have a
Quorum.
quorum.
Okay, so it's recording.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Bylaws Committee, and I will read the conduct statement. Community Board 11 meetings must be held in a professional and hostile-free environment. The following rules of conduct are applicable to members of the public, Community Board 11, and the Community Board staff. Any action or behavior that disrupts or interferes with Community Board 11 business will not be tolerated during any Community Board 11 meeting and may result in the individual or individuals being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disturbing the peace, and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder. Repeated violations by the same person or group of people may result in further action by the community board. All public speakers must address the full board or the committee with their concerns. Engaging in acts of violence, including threats, are grounds for immediate suspension of the right to attend meetings pending review by the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee. Respect the equality, diversity, and privacy of all persons by respecting and valuing differences of culture and opinions. Refrain from unpleasant or disparaging remarks and other actions. Abstain from all forms of harassment by actively discouraging it. Disseminating false information is prohibited. All right, what I would like to do next is have everyone introduce themselves. I am Sandra Unger, Chair of the Bylaws Committee.
Joanne Rubino, co-chair.
Veronica Castro, committee member.
Ryan Barthel, committee member.
Cynthia Rodriguez, community board chair.
David Levin, community board member.
All right, we have the bylaws, which we hopefully will get most of our work of tweets done and then approved by the board. The first thing that we're going to look at are the grammatical errors or grammatical changes to a word or two that may be changed from chairman of the board or the community board or full board. So Ryan and Veronica, you want to look at the changes to the language, and I think we could agree or vote on all of the tweaks that are being made. From changing, from chairman of the board to chair, from chairperson to vice chair, from board chair to chair, etc. What is your thinking? And we can go through the whole bylaws and take a look.
Can we instead call out the substantive changes?
Go ahead.
Talk about I don't know what is all on your list. Like, we've got obviously the district manager report. I imagine that the public hearing changes are a part of that.
Well, there's also the removal, which is a change,
Yeah.
or the removal method. But first, I just wanted to get the grammatical out of the way.
Well, what I'm saying is, if we list the things that are substantive and then leave the grammatical, that's all the rest, right?
Either way, it works. Okay. All right. So the first substantial change then would be to the removal process. And that will be on page 5, section 8. And we're adding or changing within 15 days following the adoption of such a motion by the highest ranking officer who is not subject of the proceeding shall appoint a committee of not less than 3 nor more than 5 members to investigate the matter. The name of the committee shall be the Investigative Committee, which shall schedule its first meeting to take place within 30 days following formation of the committee. And C, or at its first meeting, the Investigative Committee must vote on its chair, clarify any charges, and schedule a second and final meeting to take place within 30 days following the first. The chair of the Investigative Committee shall ensure that the subjects of the proceedings receive formal written notice of the second meeting at least 1 week in advance, informing them of the opportunity to respond to the charges which must be included in the notice. And that's a big formative change. I agree with it. We took out some of the,
B and C below.
and we could see below, the following adoption of the revolution, and we just really made it clearer and more substantive.
Like Sandy, if you just ignore the ABC.
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
screwed up, it
right,
comes
Oh, I
up fine.
see.
I don't know
Really
why.
Right.
AB.
right,
It's
Thank
really
you.
AB.
all right.
It's really AB.
The question that I have on that, it said, this implies that there are 2 and only 2 meetings?
I think there's 3. There's the first, the second, and the final.
No, it says the first meeting, and
But we
then
need
they'll
the Oxford
schedule a
comma.
second and final meeting.
To
to
me,
take
I
place
read
within
it as
30 days following the first
Oh,
meeting.
second and final could be second and then
and
a final.
one.
So it's not
That's how
clear,
I
but
read it.
it's
All right, but
30,
if you
so-
read it, it says second and final to take place within 30 days following the first. So you're gonna have 2 meetings within 30 days after the first meeting?
That's the way I read it. I don't know. Can we,
Well, maybe it could be second and then third final meeting, and then to take place within 30 days following the first. So maybe the final meeting has to be maybe 45 days.
no, then it would be 30 days. No, wow.
Well,
Basically,
other-
I mean, I guess the point is to try and make it happen quickly. You don't
Right.
want it to drag out, but
Right.
also it would be, there's some value in taking some time to deliberate too.
because it depends on whatever the allegations are, and you
Well,
know, you
yeah.
don't want to rush into a decision either. I mean, it could very well be resolved within 2 meetings.
okay.
It could,
And then,
but if there's a chance that it may not be, do we leave
Right.
room for that?
right, so it should be made within 45 days perhaps, because that's only,
To take place
2 weeks
within
before.
instead of 30,
it's only 2 weeks
because
more.
it says a second and
then
final
any
meeting.
additional,
Oh, it
the
could
second
be.
and any additional required meetings within
But you don't
45,
wanna- yeah.
45 or 60, whatever.
But you want to give it a limit, because then it could just go on.
And on and on.
Right.
So 45 would probably be fair, I'm thinking.
To schedule
Well, we
a
got July
second,
and August too, that aren't, July and August that aren't accounted for. This is strict
This is
calendar
this
days.
is
Right.
calendar, so that should probably be. in.
so what do you think we should do? Change it to
Well,
45?
I think it should be. You
And
might not,
schedule a second,
and
and if needed,
schedule,
a final?
and if needed, a final, that's really good,
Yeah.
if needed,
Okay, and
a
If-
final, within
needed-
45 days, it could be less.
if needed, if needed, a final meeting, right?
Yeah, final, if needed, a third meeting.
A third
How
meeting,
about Third
and final?
and final, so.
Then we're gonna be in the same,
Yeah,
I would just
Yeah.
say third.
All right, okay, a third meeting to take place within 30 days? Or you're saying,
I would say 45, because
Yeah, I mean,
3
I'm like having
meetings in
two-
30 days.
That's a lot.
all right, so within 45,
The second meeting or the final meeting?
the final,
If needed, it doesn't have to
needed.
be within, it could be within 2
Right.
weeks.
So how should I type this?
So
so it would be schedule a second and if needed, a third meeting
a
to take
Place
place
within
within 45
days.
days following the.
we
Right.
gonna put anything in about the summer, or just if it happens on the summer, we'll get, whoever gets appointed will deal with that? Like
Yeah,
if the
hopefully,
accusations
yeah.
are brought in May or June, and then, 45
In
days from
May-
that, it's gonna be middle of July or middle of August.
I
Where-
think unfortunately with something like this, I don't think we have the luxury of having
Yeah.
that time span of not doing anything.
Uh-huh.
I think it would have to still take place during.
Right, so maybe
Right,
just
so
leave it
leave
Yeah.
it be.
and let we deal with the consequences
Right.
when and if.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Hopefully, never.
Right.
All right, so
Okay.
what's the, you have the language?
No.
Okay, can we clarify the language?
All right,
so
the
that
line,
Jeremy
all right,
can-
you go ahead, Ryan. At the first meeting,
And then after that comma, and schedule a second and if needed, third meeting to take place within 45 days following the first.
so the third is understood to be final. Right,
If needed, yeah, that's sort of
So I just
implied.
say final meeting.
okay,
Third,
Schedule second if needed, a final meeting.
Because we don't, you want to do it like that, right? You're
If
okay with
needed,
it?
final. Yeah, no, I think that,
right, I mean,
that setting off takes away the ambiguity.
okay. All right. The other change, the other, big change, or what they took out, is the sergeant of arms.
oh,
on
wait,
fiction.
wait. D. Okay, the community board shall receive the report of the investigative committee following its second meeting.
Yeah.
So since we changed it, it should be the,
It's
just
final.
say final meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're
Final.
right. And if the final could be the second, they could
It
come.
could be
Right,
the first,
right.
you know, well, maybe not.
Oh, and when we're doing like the Supreme Court, we're also having a minority opinion. Oh, we leave it open. Okay, then the rest is all right,
Fine, that's just,
right?
That was the first biggie.
That was the first biggie.
so you're taking out section 13, a whole lot of language regarding sergeant at arms.
Right. So in section 13 with Sergeant of Arms, we're excluding a lot, and we're just writing the Sergeant of Arms shall keep
Parliamentary
order
matters.
at the monthly board meetings and advise the board chair on parliamentary matters.
Right, because the rest of this is, he's treated like any other officer. You don't have to put-
Right.
Okay.
I think you should, for the people and for the recording, you should read the part that you're reading.
Oh, okay. All right, so we are removing the
Section
first.
13.
Oh,
I
right.
think, too, that we
And
could
in
read it.
section 13, that was because setting up, I think, for voting in the first few years and
Because
not,
it was new.
it was new.
Yeah,
So, but what we are taking out is the first election for Sergeant of Arms shall be in accordance with Article 4, Section 5 of these bylaws, except for the first term of the Sergeant of Arms, which shall be for 1 year, see Article 4, Section blah, 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 and the first person elected shall then take office on July 1st following the election. Okay. Now we're looking at the committees.
Well-
And they added as a non-standing investigative, if
okay.
and when needed, really.
How about ethics as a non-standing?
You mean instead of keeping it as a,
Uh-huh. I
Yeah,
think it
because
should
it
be
should
a
only-
non-standing because it's same as investigative, only when an issue comes up.
Yeah. And actually, Jeremy and I had a conversation yesterday, I think it was. I wanted to take a look at what complaints the ethics committee
Oh, yeah.
has
Sorry, yeah.
listened to in the last, I don't know, since the Just Homes hearing, which is when everything kind of really
Yeah.
got a little contentious. I want to take a look at that, what
Okay.
complaints we've heard, what's the outcome been? Because realistically, if I want to have a good sense of what the purpose is of the committee and whether or not we're actually
Because the
fulfilling that purpose.
the
You know what I mean?
investigative committee
Committee.
could just take care of that, whatever, that could be the ethics committee, because
Yeah.
that's really what it is. You really don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, personally, and Veronica's been there when I've said, like, I do think we need some mechanism for, keeping us accountable. I'm not sure that the ethics committee,
Well,
Is
you
Well,
that-
but if you think of what Joanne is saying about how the investigative and the ethics committee,
or maybe it
Or
should be
compatible
ethics and investigative committee.
I think the purpose of the investigative committee is to be formed at the time when needed for the chair, because you don't know who's going to be involved
well, that's
and
the
who's going to be on the committee. So I think that's like a one-off. It's probably never, hopefully, going to come up again. But I don't know if you want to put it in combination with the other.
So it should be two
I'm okay
separate
with
committees.
thinking about,
Ad hoc.
An
creative
ad hoc.
committee.
Ad hoc.
an
okay.
ad hoc.
Complicated, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So
Sure.
then,
Okay.
well, okay. So you could have the non-standing and ethics also as a non-standing, which would make sense.
Mhm.
May I address the committee on this issue?
It's up to you, Sandy.
I don't know.
It's your call, Sandy.
I would think it's okay. Yes, David.
Thank you.
I'm just
My
wondering.
understanding is that the changes that you're considering were submitted to the chair, and then those proposed changes were published to the board, and that's the limit of what the bylaws committee is considering tonight. My understanding also is that the change to the ethics and disciplinary committee being standing to not standing was not proposed and not published to the board. So I'm confused as to how you're considering that tonight, especially without that committee chair being here to be able to speak on her own behalf.
We can just, as we're going through the whole thing. So some of them maybe will be proposed by the chair at the next board meeting, and some of them will be voted on.
Thank you.
Because we're going
That's all
through
I
the whole
wanted to say.
thing.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you,
David.
No,
That's
it's
a
a
good point.
good,
Good
it's a
point,
good point,
because
David.
he's right, we can't
Right.
vote on it.
No,
Right.
But I think that's a good, you propose it. Yeah.
Right, okay, so that
Nothing
will
in
be,
our
gotta keep that
bylaws
in mind.
requires them to meet every month anyway, so
What's
nothing in the bylaws requires a standing committee to meet every month
right?
anyway, so
True.
the distinction is
yeah, good point.
shaky.
All right, the next thing we're looking at is on the committees. In the event, in section 2. And the addition is, in the event of a committee chair vacancy, the co-chair becomes the chair of the committee. In the event of both a committee chair and co-chair vacancy, the board chair shall elect an interim committee chair. The committee then has 2 subsequent meetings to certify the board chair selection or elect a new chair.
I think that
Yes,
requiring the certification is probably a mistake, because part of the whole problem with this is not being able to get quorum to be
Yeah.
able to certify, so. I mean, I guess they're not actually a meeting if they don't have quorum then, so.
Yeah, so they'll meet if there's a quorum, and then they can certify it.
They're still required to hold them. Okay, never mind. Talk myself.
all right, but yeah,
No,
but it
it's
makes
Good
sense.
to think
Well,
about these things
I thought
through.
part of the issue, I mean, we had a couple of committees where we had no chair or co-chair, and there wasn't a quorum to select the chair or
Yeah.
co-chair, and then it stayed up in the air, so I,
Right, this is a very good.
Yeah.
We look at,
It's a
yeah,
very
at a
good-
lot of
I'm
meetings.
not a fan of the certification. I agree with Ryan,
So,
sort of.
Well,
So I'm open.
they'll have to come together. It's sort of a formality at that point
Yeah.
to hold the vote, but it's good to hold that vote, I think. Whether it is to certify or to elect a new one, but to hold the vote. So the chair will exist
Right.
until
So-
they have a couple of meetings, which hopefully.
so
will happen.
maybe, I don't know, maybe that should be taken out, because maybe a vote could be taken at an appropriate time. Because giving more power to the chair to make a decision like that. I don't know. All right.
To be honest. if
So
you
how are
haven't
we
met
going to word
Tim-
it then, Ryan? What was the final?
We can leave it as
Leave
it
it
is.
as it is.
Leave
I
it
like
as
it
is.
as is because they,
It's fine.
They're
to
gonna have to,
have a, my concern was that there would be meetings that passed without certifying a chair because they didn't have quorum, but if they don't have quorum, it's not a meeting, so.
yeah, that,
That's not real, what I was thinking might be a problem is not really a problem.
you know,
Okay.
because many times we had to meet even in bylaws and we couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we're gonna get something substantially done today.
Cynthia, I have a question. I'm not, I'll be honest, I didn't look through this. I've been very busy with another thing, but, is anything else going, say there is, if you want to remove a chair for any reason, is that in here or is it a subsequent march? Should that be in here? Is that in here? It should be more specific if it isn't.
We know that you could appoint, and it's inferred that if you appoint, you can
Remove,
remove.
it should probably.
It's understood,
But
but
that's
it's
not-
not spelled
No,
out.
it should be
Right.
spelled out.
Yes.
It should be spelled out.
Committee chairs.
You can remove from the committee. Why would you want to remove someone from a chairmanship? And,
Well, there could be a
Not-
reason.
yeah,
I mean, there
Not
could
the
be, just
committee,
like
no.
any other,
yeah, no, no,
any
okay.
other
Or she could
problem,
remove
but,
anybody from then.
I mean,
the
I don't think it would
committee.
be something
Right.
like she just do it because she felt like it.
Right.
It would have to be a reason,
Yeah.
so.
So that
you know.
following sentence, all appointments and removals from a committee could just be all appointments and removals from a committee or committee leadership position shall be in writing.
I like
at the
that.
time the effective date.
Okay,
I
All
think
right.
that
All right,
makes
so
sense.
what did,
so, all right,
Yeah,
Slow
so all
down.
appointments and removals from a committee or committee leadership.
or committee leadership.
That's a committee leadership position or just committee leadership, either one, I think is fine. Gets the point across.
so we're adding back to what we just discussed, right, in the event?
You got that?
Okay.
It's distracted with the ethics thing. Following out. Say it one more time.
So all appointments and removals from a committee or committee leadership position shall be in writing, shall contain the effective date.
Now, that's gonna have to be voted on separately, isn't that? Because
Well,
that's not
yeah.
a grammatical
Yeah.
change, that's a new change.
Yeah.
It
Right.
needs to be proposed.
Yeah.
and-
Right,
I'll add that
Okay.
to the list.
So,
So that's
but
gonna be a
that
new
doesn't
proposal.
really specifically say that the board chair has that power. Maybe
but now
that should
she's
be-
giving it.
Oh,
If
yeah,
we, if
okay.
we,
Yeah.
if we put it before the board.
Well, yeah, I mean, are we saying explicitly who has the power to remove?
We should, because that's very.
And that's the chair, the
The
board
chair,
chair.
the board
And that
chair,
under the board chairs.
the board chair, but it could maybe after committee by the board chair shall be in writing. All right.
So, I mean, the other question is, so basically we're just
Or-
going upon chair to remove from
Well,
leadership position?
For other reason. In other words, or it could be a removal for a different reason.
For
Okay.
for committee leadership, not for
Right.
like other leadership, just
Right.
committee.
No, I understand.
It could be through an investigative committee thingy. So, so maybe
They may
chair
recommend,
or as a result of another, as a result of something else. So you know what I mean?
so you're saying that if the investigative committee makes a
Or-
recommendation,
Or, there's another process. So it should be chair
I
and.
think that would sort of be. So what I struggle with that idea is that right now, the chair has the authority to remove someone from a committee.
Right, okay.
Now, in lieu of removing someone from a committee, let's say I'm chair of the beauty salon committee. And, and for whatever reason, maybe the chair of the board doesn't necessarily think that I'm, I don't know, meeting the expectation of beauty salons for the committee, for the
Mhm.
board as a whole, to have a whole process with an investigative committee and this,
Just be,
Then
it
the
would be
chair-
simple.
The chair could just turn around and remove me, period.
Uh-huh.
But
So
it may
just-
be that I'm not necessarily the best person to lead that committee, but maybe I'd still be a good member for the committee.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So it's two separate things. It's removal from a committee completely,
Right.
or, and the leadership, which they could still be on the committee. But it should just all be you. And just put it,
Right.
just the chair has the right.
Right.
Or somehow,
Right,
because it
That's-
really isn't specific. Should be specific.
right, because it was inferred, well, because.
Well,
you
if we
could
don't
do
want
To me,
to-
it's
one,
always
You
been
could do the
inferred.
reverse.
Yeah, but we
Because-
don't want inferred. We want,
Clarity.
You want
clarity.
specifics,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so we getting it done, you want to
So-
read it back?
Hold on, that doesn't work.
Go ahead. No, okay.
Just above that, finally found something.
What? What are you
So
looking
the
at now?
appointing and removing is in section 2, shall be
Yeah.
serve at the pleasure. Then committee members shall vote each September to elect their own committee officers.
Well, that's fine.
I don't like. Is there?
I know that the committee can elect the chair, but at the end of the day, the chair has authority over the committees, basically, and she should have the power to remove someone if she doesn't feel they're meeting the expectations as chair,
Or
co-chair.
maybe the chair is not doing their,
I think that should be on the
Sure.
committee. I don't think. I think if you take it to a place where someone could abuse that, they can remove them all in place. Remove chairs effectively forever and not have. I don't think that it's good. We already have in there that the committees decide, and if the chair is not doing a good job leading that committee, then they probably don't need to be there. I don't like it.
The only thing that I would say to that, I understand that, but they only have a vote each September. What happens within the middle of the year, if there's something going on that we have to wait for the committee to be able to vote in September, to be able to remove someone they don't feel is actually
Not
handling
only
the
that,
position?
I think it would be very uncomfortable for the committee to do that. It's sort of like the chair would have that power and she's removed from the committee. Or to put it on the committee is kind of uncomfortable, you know? Like, they
Well,
might
to
not feel
Ryan's
comfortable
point-
doing that.
To Ryan's point, in September, they get to choose, they get to
Right. No, I
nominate
know.
someone and everything.
I know,
So
but the whole,
they
it
would
could
have
be
to do that
September
anyway.
and October, something happens that shows that this person really shouldn't be, then they gotta wait a whole year.
So instead of or October or when required,
I think the reason why we put a date was because it makes them have to do it if there's no chair.
well, we already have that by November 30th.
right,
So we've got the backstops. I think that saying in October or when required allows them to take a vote if it's required for someone new. And I do hear what you're saying, Joanne, about it being uncomfortable, but we're all sitting here having conversations and a lot of times with people
But I-
we disagree with about things that can get uncomfortable. So
Right.
if you're
but
not
it
comfortable,
might
with
not
it,
happen.
have a
No, I'm
conversation.
saying it might not happen and it might just be very dysfunctional. Whereas the chair could come in and say, look, we're gonna fix this. And I
By
do believe
removing
that.
them.
Yeah, so
Or
that would
removing
be,
the member though.
yeah.
From the committee.
it would, you mean that someone from the committee would have to
Yeah.
report to the chair of the board that somehow they are not functioning the way they should be and some action should be taken.
Hmm.
Is that what you're saying, Ryan? Do it that way?
No, I'm saying that the committee member, if the committee is not working, the committee members need to step up and
Right.
remove the committee chair. They could also say something to the board chair and say that something's wrong. Like, say a committee chair decides to never hold a meeting, right? They go to leadership, they say we don't need a meeting. The committee members feel that they need a meeting, but they don't have, they can show up virtually or in person to request a meeting, and that is addressed later on. But for some reason, they're not able to get it. They can then go to the board chair and say the chair of the committee is not doing their job. The board chair can then remove them from the committee and still get them out of that leadership position if necessary. But I think that putting that the board chair can unilaterally remove any committee leadership from that position is not the right way to handle the situation.
Although a reason.
Oh,
doesn't
I
have to be
see
provided.
why, because she
I
may have
agree.
appointed people to the committee. But the committee itself chose the
Right.
chair
Right.
and the co-chair.
Yeah.
So I get your point
Yeah.
with that.
I don't know.
I don't know,
All right.
So maybe, in the interest of time, just keep everybody on track, 6:40, maybe we can
Yep.
just play with it.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Yep.
All right, the next,
Is there anything I need to type right now? or
No,
not?
I don't think so.
no,
And if I may real quick, so I think it's easier going back to page 5 versus saying second meeting, final meeting, and schedule any additional meetings within 45.
That was something else we tossed around. I'm fine with it.
it
Yeah.
would be, right,
Because that could be second, third, fourth, fifth, final.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
within 45.
okay, so we're not
Meeting
saying the
once a
third
week.
if additional meetings.
Third
Instead of a
or-
third.
Versus saying second
Okay.
and final, I just say any additionals.
Okay,
Okay, fine.
fine,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
So back to what, page 8?
I think we're up to 8, yeah.
All right, so now we're up to page 8. And basically, those are, well, several are just changing the wording or grammatical. And then with the hearings in
That's-
accordance,
It's good that they're. putting
we're
the
looking
charter
at
in there.
Article 6. Meetings in accordance with the chair, community board shall hold a public hearing and full board meeting at least once a month, except at its option during the months of July and August.
Just for
ahead.
clarification, you said chair, but it's actually in accordance with the charter.
Oh, charter, I'm
Charter,
sorry,
yeah.
thank you, I'm sorry. Okay, hearings and meetings need not occur in conjunction with one another. And that's what we're adding in. All community board meetings, including district service cabinet meetings, excluding, excuse me.
Sorry.
I'm tired, no, I'm tired.
I think that's important about
Yeah.
Excluding district
Not in-
service.
Right,
conjunction.
okay, now I'm up to
necessarily.
this one. Go ahead, Veronica.
No, go ahead. Right there.
Excluding district service cabinet meetings shall be open to the public and shall be consistent with the provisions of Article 7 of the Public Offices Law. And then with Section 2, we're saying excluding remote hearings, all hearings and meetings shall be held within the confines of community boards, physical district, etc. Okay. And then Section 3, written notice of each hearing and meeting shall be set forth, so to know the time and the place. And then everything
Well,
else
that's-
remains the same.
No.
Oh,
You're
down here.
reading that one.
Thank you. No, I'm tired.
I know you're tired. That's.
All right, we just took out notice of such hearings shall be placed in the papers of local record, on television, and on the board's website. Well, usually it's on the board's
Well,
website
maybe
anyway.
you could say it on the board's website and that, because that should be,
Do you want to change the proposal?
I know,
to-
let's see what Jeremy says in his.
I think we put it on the board's, it's always on the board schedule anyway, right? It would be in the calendar.
Yeah.
It's required to
Just,
by the
uh,
charter.
Yeah,
So notices shall be placed on the board's website.
So
Yeah.
I
the,
think it should be,
the charter doesn't say anything of having to place it in the local papers.
right.
Right.
just
or
so
television.
just, we're putting in notices.
Such hearing shall be placed on the board website. On the board.
Now, how does that work?
Well, let's see if Jeremy, what he says.
Okay. Is if we're amending what was already proposed, does that have to be considered a new proposal?
Mm,
There
Well,
has to be
this
some-
was, it's like so
Gotta be
small. It's so small. It's just taking out the words in between.
Yeah,
Local record on television, that's not even relevant anymore.
Yeah.
It's-
If there weren't any amendment power, there wouldn't be any reason to have a bylaws committee. We just talk about it and vote on it.
All right, so we'll let Jeremy know that change. And then we're looking at attendance. And a record of each member's attendance shall be included in the minutes of each meeting. And then we are taking out and shall be reported to the borough president's office on an annual basis. So we're taking that out. Jeremy, we made one little kind of change. Or you want to tell me?
The
Why
notes,
was in, Article 6, Section 3, taking out the notice of hearing, which will be placed in papers of record, television, and the board's website? Why was that? I mean, it already is placed on the website.
It
that's
is, and it's
required.
required to,
So-
hold on.
shall be placed in the board
So-
website.
So we have no control of, I mean, we can pay for it to put it in the paper, but other than that, we send it to them. We have no control over it, whether News 12 or,
But we have, yeah, we can take that out, but on the website, I think should stay in.
yeah, I mean,
So notices of
it's-
such
it's-
hearing shall be
we do it
placed in the
anyway.
board's website. But
It's-
yeah, it should be.
whatever. It's redundant as far as I'm concerned.
At the
Right, but
top
it's
of
in the
that
calendar
section-
anyway. It will be, and it will be on the
We
calendar.
have to do it. We're required to do it anyway.
Mhm.
Right.
So to say it, to me, it's like, I don't know.
And we did put it in at the.
It's like
in
saying
section
it's
one.
like saying you need a quorum to have a meeting. We don't have that in bylaws, do we? Or to conduct it.
Yeah,
It's like
actually,
me.
I think we do.
We do,
Yeah, we do.
we do.
It's in here?
Uh,
I believe
No,
it.
just
I don't
define.
think-
All right.
I don't think-
Well,
Right.
to
Section,
save time,
section 3, it says written notice of each hearing and meeting setting forth shall be published in the local papers of record as determined by the community board. Do we do that?
Huh?
Do we
The top of that
put it in
section.
the
No.
papers when we have
No.
a public hearing?
No.
I don't know if they're still on our distribution list. The newspaper publications used to be on our distribution list, right? Because we're required to notify them. That's it. I mean, like, whether they publish anything is a different story. I mean, we can push that for certain things to be published.
Yeah,
but-
because here it says that it shall be published. So that's why
Yeah,
I think
well-
that needs to be changed. If that's like part of the charter that we have to do that.
The first sentence, not the one that's
Well-
crossed out.
Do
The
we
first
have
sentence also says
control
that it
over
goes up.
whether? or
Okay,
not
the city
things are
record,
Well,
Yeah, city
basically, we
records
would
did-
have to
city record-
ask them to publish it.
city records. So wait, shall be published in the comprehensive. City planning calendar, I don't know if that's still relevant. City record's still relevant. I mean, well, it's debatable relevance, but yeah, with ULA public hearings, we do have to publish that in the city record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's.
How about the
needs to
city
stay in
planning
there.
calendar?
That one, I'm not sure if that's relevant.
Sure.
So that might be taken out, maybe.
I can review.
oh, what just happened? Okay. All right, so now we're going
The
on,
Publish in the newspaper is still in there. The first sentence of section 3 says publish in the
Right.
paper, right?
Published in the local papers of record.
So do we want to remove that or replace that with on the website? Even though it is required and it happens.
did we ever do it? I don't
No,
know.
so.
David, do you remember us ever
Shall-
publishing?
We could say it shall be sent.
Reporter.
Shall be provided.
Oh, in the
to,
Bronx
or-
Times Reporter, so we sent, okay.
We send it to them. So
Yeah.
maybe it should say shall be sent to the local papers,
Provided to
Provided.
sounds better.
to- Yeah.
whatever. I mean,
'Cause they're-
All right.
they'll leave it
Fancy
out
enough
there.
room.
And that is the local paper,
provided to.
provided to the local paper or Bronx Times Reporter. Or just the local paper.
Paper.
As determined, yeah.
Right.
Parentheses S. Do we want to keep something about the website, like, just so people don't think that we're gonna stop updating it?
Yeah.
even though again, we're required to.
Mm.
You have to check.
I would keep in the website because we do it anyway. Oh, just said it. Let's-
So the last one, we'll keep it, but just notice of such hearings shall be placed on the board's website.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then reported to the office. You said that that wasn't a big deal because if they, the borough president's office attendance, if they want it, they request it from you, plus it's also on
Minutes.
the monthly meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be on the website.
Yeah.
As long as we publish, you know, speaking which I gotta make sure we get.
all right, and then with the attendance, if we go on to section 10, we're taking out a record of each member's attendance shall be included in the minutes of each meeting. And we're taking out and shall be reported to the borough president's office on an annual basis.
They reach out to us when they need or want the attendance, was not.
They'll reach out to us
They
or
do. That's historically what they do.
it'll be as needed, literally.
Mhm.
Okay, now we're up to the
That's how it's
gallery.
always been, as long as I've been
We're
around.
up to-
Now we're up to the gallery session, section 13.
Okay,
Each gallery session, in the first paragraph, it's just tweaking full board. And B, each person wishing to speak at full board meetings shall complete a registration slip,
Okay.
which shall be kept on file at the community board's office.
I think that's already there, though. We're not changing that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we're not changing it. It's there.
so does that contradict B?
Full board meetings, gallery section speakers must register. Well, they could register 36 hours before by email and fill out the application. Is that correct, Jeremy?
What's that?
Email, phone, website, yeah.
They could call in for section C. For
Yeah.
remote full board, they could call in, they could email a request to be in the gallery
I
section.
don't think we have to specify. They can call however they want to do it, as long as they do it, I guess.
Well, how about if they show up at our full board meeting and they haven't done it, they can't speak? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's from, this is a edit we made
I'm against
earlier in
that.
the year, last year, actually.
They could.
Part of the idea behind the public hearing is to try and capture that, trying to have the public hearing beforehand is to try and capture those
That's
who were not able to register.
public hearing. I'm talking about the full board meeting.
Right, so that's why, one of the reasons why we're trying to have it before the
The full
full
board.
board meeting. A lot of the comments that are brought up in those gallery sessions aren't really relevant to what we're doing at the full board. And that's, I mean, a gallery session is to address the issues that are being talked about, while a public hearing can be.
I thought that the whole reason for them to speak is to bring up concerns that maybe no one knows about. You know, some thing that's happening that no one knows about, and it may have just come like an
Like the night
emergency,
before,
the night
day
before, or whatever. I just think that that is so.
Like that, yeah, like that Colden Avenue, what they were
Right.
concerned about, that just came up and
Yeah.
they were really concerned.
Yeah,
So
and then
they-
people want to speak publicly, and it gives them the freedom to.
So I
speak
know you
publicly.
guys hashed this out at a previous meeting or something, right? Like, I know you talked about time limits. I don't think you ever formally voted on any of it, so.
Correct. But we
Yeah.
did say that they still could sign up to speak
On
at
the same day,
on the same day at the board
and they
meeting.
should have that
That we did
opportunity.
discuss.
But we're limiting it somehow. You did.
We said we were gonna
We
limit
said
it
we're
to 10
gonna limit
people.
it to 10 people
People.
or a time. In other words, 30 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, the gallery
You know.
session.
10
30
speakers a night? What are we talking?
Well,
Well,
none of this is on the
Yeah.
Yeah.
no,
the proposal.
I mean,
So I mean,
we
this-
did speak about that, but we really didn't
Yeah,
make a
we gotta-
decision on it. So, The thing is that, in all the years I've been doing it, we never get 10 speakers and 50 speakers. It's always two
Well, we
or
do, but
three or
it's
four or
rare.
five.
It is rare.
It's rare.
When there's a big issue.
If
we've
there's a
gotten
big issue-
bunch of speakers at one.
Then we deal with it.
And you deal with it because it doesn't happen that often. And that gives people freedom to speak about something that they're concerned about that may not have anything to do with what's going on our agenda, but this is for the public.
Right, so-
This is, yeah, so it has, I think there has to be
Yeah, we,
some freedom here.
that's why we said we would allow them to sign up at the board meeting,
Uh-huh.
fill it out, and we were going to set a time limit of, say, 30 minutes for the gallery session, which we know other community boards do.
Yeah, they do.
So, I mean, this is probably going to be one that's separated out and voted on separately.
Yeah.
My point, I think that the public has lots of opportunities to speak if it's something that hasn't been brought up before. It almost certainly needs to be relegated to a committee to be discussed there before it's discussed with the full board. If it's not on the full board agenda, it shouldn't be talked about at the full board gallery session. There is the public hearing. There are the committees to bring up new business. And if all of that fails, that's a great reason to come and present it at the full board and the gallery session. But again, the public hearing is there to talk about whatever issues happen,
Well, that's
whatever comes
separate.
up.
That's separate. The public hearing is separate than the full board.
It's separate in what way? What are you
Well,
saying?
there
it's
are both,
separate?
there's two separate things. The public
Sure.
hearing is public hearing.
Yeah.
And the full board is, we have our agenda and the gallery session is on that. The public hearing may be for a specific topic. And that's,
Maybe it
that's
doesn't
all right.
have to be.
It doesn't
it
have.
doesn't have
But
to
it
be.
doesn't have to be.
But with the full board, the gallery session, we always gave the freedom for people to speak about things that are not on the agenda because this is something that they're concerned with. And that's the public's right. That's what I believe.
So I think that asking people to tell us what they're going to say before before the meeting actually starts helps them be prepared, stay on time, helps them
36 hours though?
Focus.
helps them focus on a specific topic and helps us be able to be prepared for what they're bringing up so that if we can do something about it, we can tell them, these are the steps that we want to take. These are what we are going to talk about. I think that it gives everybody a better chance to be prepared. If you want to come and talk about whatever, that's what the public hearing generic issues can be for.
So,
That's my opinion. I understand
Yeah.
that that's not the way it has been done.
Like-
There are a lot of things that have been done differently than the way things have been done, and better or worse.
If I can interject.
Go right ahead.
We have 5 minutes before
Oh,
the next
boy.
meeting.
Okay.
And we have other stuff we have to go over, so
Yeah, and then
this is not one of the changes that we're gonna be voting on today.
Yeah, so we're still gonna have.
Well, no, this one we will have to part C whether we keep the deletion or not, because it does part C does change it.
For to delete this, we're not deleting parts.
Deleting the remote words changes. Right, so what's included in there makes it sort of a 36 hours for all full board meetings. So it is something that
Understood, yeah.
okay.
Sandy, if I may.
Yes.
So I was admonished earlier, or actually last week, I was admonished, by a colleague that we need to stop allowing public to speak at committee meetings because the only right they have is through our bylaws. City charter doesn't give them that right. They have the right to speak at a full board meeting. So that's the other flip side of the coin to think about. My colleague sent me a list of advisory opinions from the State Committee on Open Government. I'll send the entire committee. But,
I think most boards don't allow for gallery session during committee meetings.
They
That's
don't.
like unique
Right.
to us.
which is why,
Something we
which
have
is
to
why I think,
consider.
I think a lot of people are like, "Hey, what's the big deal on you know, curtailing some of the full board speech, since we have such a very liberal committee meeting policy.
That's why I always say that if you really want to bring up an issue, you bring it before the committee, the health committee, the economic committee, and then we let the board know. All right,
Yeah.
well, we'll have
Speaking
to,
on things in the gallery at the full board should rarely be in the event of a failure of the committee to do what they need to do to act on it. Or if they decide that it's not worth it and then they want to bring it to the full board to bring it there.
Well, I mean, how many, all right, I'll just say this and then oh, whatever, but many times during a full board, somebody will bring something up and the people, you know, our board members, so, well, this is the first time I've heard of this, you know? And that's what I want to preserve. That's just my opinion.
I'm going to say that we may have to extend this meeting for another few minutes and delay the health committee
Okay.
for another few, because I'd like to get this done. Is that all right with everyone?
Since November, yeah.
All righty. All right, so now we're up to looking at the public hearings. The board chair, whenever required, the community board may by resolution call additional public hearings. We're taking that part out.
Well, maybe the first sentence is just explanatory. The board chairperson shall call a public hearing whenever required, so that will cover everything. When, in that case, you know, you
I don't
hark
think it's
back.
just the board chair that would, well, sometimes the chair of a committee can call a public.
Yeah.
Or it
hearing.
could say a public hearing can be called whenever required. Public hearing can be called whenever required.
Yeah, because all we
It
have.
could be
to
once
do
a
Alright.
month, it could be twice a month.
Each month, yep.
All right,
Well, so section 1, article 6 says community board shall hold a public hearing and full board meeting at least once a month. So that is taken care of
It is.
earlier.
I know, it is taken care of, but it's sort of like when you, community board may, by resolution, call additional public, no, blah, blah. Noticeable hearings. I think just to make context,
Sure.
because if you're looking at
A
that,
nice
you'll say,
introduction,
well,
nice
what?
introduction, yeah.
all right.
You got that, Jeremy?
No, okay.
Multi-task. So one more time, please.
We're saying
A public
Which page?
hearing
on
Public
section
hearing.
1,
Uh-huh.
shall be called whenever required.
So that
Public
first
hearing.
line that we're taking out,
Uh-huh.
we're gonna replace it with the public hearing can be called whenever required.
And if it's required. why is it
Okay.
required?
And then,
Because
Why
it
is it-
opens the section instead of just like diving right in. It's
all right,
Shall be
shall we
called.
continue? Shall we continue?
Shall be called whenever.
Good. All right, now we're looking at section 2.
So keep me on the first line, is what you're saying.
Um,
except
Without
restricted to
except-
the chair.
Right.
take out the board
Oh, so
chair.
it's just, okay,
Public hearing, yeah,
Right,
be called
Public-
whenever required.
okay, a public hearing, okay.
And then noticeable such hearing, blah, blah, blah.
all right. Now we're looking at section,
There's that other part here, Sandy, that I think we changed.
oh, right, okay. And if so, an annual report of attendance shall be published on the board's website. Who are at those meetings? So we have to take attendance, then I'm assuming, to know who is present at those
Well, that's-
public hearings.
That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
People have to sign up for hearings.
All right,
And the part
Alright.
that public hearing shall be made to the borough president's office is being removed.
yeah, I think Jeremy said if it would be at their
Yeah.
request. Okay. Now we're looking at for your public hearings. We're taking-
Part of the attendance of 20% of the board's appointed members or 7 members, whichever is greater.
So we're taking out the percentage,
No,
Oh.
we're putting that in.
we're putting it in.
Changing it. So before it was, you have to somehow divide the board into 3 groups.
Yeah, so if I may, just to try to
Go
make
ahead.
it simple, this is Joe McMaster's idea. We don't have ULIP applications on consistent enough basis to do this, to practice. It's not practical. Every summer I got divided up into 3 groups. I mean, did we go through a single year of application last year? I mean, we did, well, we had the Metro North, but I don't know, it's like maybe once in a blue moon, it feels like.
Right, so I think.
So he's
It's
saying
gonna be asked.
attendance of 20% of the board's appointed members or 7 members, whichever is greater.
Yeah, no, this is
That was,
this is from the handbook. I copied and pasted that from the handbook.
Okay.
That's what,
That's fair.
Alright.
And if you need, you just say, can you come?
the attendance
No.
by the land use committee is mandatory. Community board shall be so we don't need the 3 groups. That's what's being
None of
taken
that,
out.
yeah.
But
Or
attendance
similar.
by the land use for a public hearing or whatever, for a public hearing, that is mandatory if they are on that committee. Okay,
If
and then
I-
it says the district manager shall assign additional members to ensure quorum and that a cross-section of the community board is represented. So that's what's being added in. That,
Okay,
yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Any, do you agree? Do you agree, Veronica?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
I did section 2. I've put in these edits, and this did not make it onto the one for March, but I think that section 2, we need to get rid of sentences 1, 2, and 4. The requirement that it be submitted in writing and that you say whether you're for or against, even if applicable, and that only those who submitted requests for speaking time will be called on. Number 1, if the proposition that I was making about gallery versus public hearing and giving people a freer space to talk, that would restrict that, and I would like to preserve that in some form. I just don't think that the gallery is a place to do it. But I've also never seen these rules followed at a public hearing. I've never had a public hearing where people have all signed up in advance. I've never had one where they told about which side they were on. People have always come in and spoken after those who were there have talked. So I think that those sentences are unnecessary. But
we did do it for the Metro North at the
For the
Marriott.
big ones.
Yeah.
Right,
Big-
they thought, okay,
yeah.
talk. There's still others came in.
Well, we allowed it to develop into CAS.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, we required it, we were pretty on top of it, and then once we decided throughout the rules, that's when.
like all hell broke loose, so to speak.
So I mean, and so I know you sent us an email about it, I did talk to Cynthia about it, she was cautious about changing that. I mean, I don't know if you want to say it, Cynthia? About why? Well, because God forbid, we do have another Metro North meeting. We do need some type of order. This is what we should be doing. I understand that generally speaking, we don't do it for committees or like the budget or priority.
Yeah.
Public hearing, but we should, right? I mean,
It's
Look-
basically the same thing as filling out the gallery slip. They
this
need
is
to-
designed more for the full board or a larger meeting versus a committee.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to distinguish that or, I mean, again, there's also this line here that we can basically do it like line. Which should be also ridiculous, but
Section 3, adopt additional rules.
yeah.
Right. Regarding the conduct of such hearings, yeah.
Well,
The
that's-
community
yeah,
board
that's covered
shall have
by
the
our
power.
conduct. That's covered by our conduct statement, no.
All right, well, can we go on,
Yep.
please? Because I think we want to get done with this because the other meeting to go with, and I know that I have several speakers who are coming or who want to speak. Okay, so now we're on the district manager. And I think we have to from my opinion, let the full board vote on number 10, which some people wanted to change or take out. That present one comprehensive monthly written report on issues concerning and actions taken at the district council meetings, as well as on other pertinent active matters affecting the community board. And I think, personally, I think we should let the full board vote on that, or to keep it in or to take it out.
Don't we have to have a vote on it to refer to the full board?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're
make
gonna
a
vote on all
motion.
of them.
I make a motion
We gotta
that,
do
Wait,
gallery before
Are we gonna
motion.
make a motion now or after the gallery session? Can we still have gallery?
oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, didn't we get a
Leave the
motion
gallery.
finally, didn't it, right?
Yeah.
So do
So
it
I have a
after.
question.
Look at glasses, Jen.
Jeremy, are you going to start doing DSE minutes?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a backlog of minutes. We do have drafts.
I mean, that's across the board.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
understood, yeah.
yeah, well, I know it's across the board, but Cynthia's been pushing me to publish something. Yeah, I mean,
Because if you're gonna be doing the DSC meeting minutes,
Number
those are-
10 is kind of redundant.
yeah, and
Figure it
since
out.
I've been on the board, I haven't heard anybody asking for the
Well,
district manager
I will tell you
to
that,
report or anything like that.
I will tell you that, you know, I never knew I had to do minutes because my predecessor never did them. But I have done them over time. Yeah, they are required. Unfortunately, yeah, Harry's helping me.
Yeah, so the
And I do
DSC
have,
minutes
I've
are
had,
definitely
I've
gonna
had
be done.
Chris help me when in the past.
All right, and I
So
have
if
a,
that's being done, that kind of doesn't really matter for number 10 because you're gonna have the meeting minutes anyway, and that's gonna say everything that was already
Well, I'm
done.
required to do them regardless of our bylaws.
so, all right, so at the board, at the full board meeting, you always have district managers report. You will continue to have that. That's gonna be in the minutes, so why have this second thing where he's writing it out what he said? Whereas it's gonna be in the minutes and it's gonna be in the minutes.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
it's written already.
So when
it
you
doesn't need
state your
to-
district manager report, when you tell us what's going on, that's
Yeah,
gonna be recorded in the
That
minutes.
should be the
So you
report.
don't have to have a full out written report in addition to what you're gonna say at the meeting.
I mean,
So I think maybe this is irrelevant because he is giving us, you know, he's giving this report
verbal
every
report.
month. It's verbal, and then it will be recorded in the minutes. And that's the report. No, I mean, why have a second thing that is just
You could
redundant?
just basically just tell them anything that you're working on that needs
Yeah,
full
no,
board
I-
attention and stuff like that. You
No,
don't
I
have to
know.
put, you don't have to do it. I mean, I work with Jeremy on a lot of things and I hear him all the time being pulled in so many different directions to have to sit down and make a whole other report for
Right.
something that he's
Yeah.
gonna talk about anyway.
And it's gonna be in the minutes.
It
written.
takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, so I think maybe just, we don't have to bring it to the board. I think maybe this, we can just eliminate that.
Well, the board will have to vote on it to
Vote
eliminate it.
to eliminate it. Oh, is that? Okay.
and I'm sure we have other people here who might want to speak.
Anybody who wants to speak on it?
No, gallery will be,
Okay.
there aren't any
In the
more
gallery.
substantive changes, I don't think. Everyone else should look through and make sure I'm not missing.
The only
anything.
change is under Article 10, to take out a copy, in section 1, it says a copy of the minutes of each hearing and meeting, including the record of attendance, shall be filed with the borough president. That, we've taken other ones out,
Right.
so that is eliminated. If they want to know, the borough president will ask.
And then economic development is.
And the economic development, we made the change with adding in regarding retail cannabis license and on premises consumption alcohol license application. So we're adding that into the economic development
Yeah, and then taking out that last one.
and taking out application sent to the board by New York State Liquor Authority license applicants. And we're taking that out.
And I think that's,
And with ethics, sending to the, borough president's office. It looks like it was twice, or we're adding and refer to the Bronx borough president with the ethics. And the rest is just grammatical or changing chairperson to chair, full board, stuff like that. So I think we've covered it all.
Just circling back really quickly to page 9 with the written notice. Where it says about the local papers, what about local, just changing that to local media?
Oh, good idea.
You know, that is good because
That
maybe we
could
can
be-
get on News 12.
Like also, so our social media.
Right.
Yeah, right. So local media.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. For those who are waiting to come to the health committee meeting, we will be done in a few minutes. We ran over, but we wanted to finish as much as we could with the bylaws. So please be patient.
Okay, so
All right.
now do you want to hear from the gallery?
Yes,
He's letting Jeremy know about the media part.
Jeremy, you know about the media? We're changing it to local media
Yeah.
instead of local paper.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay? Yes, that makes more sense. All right, now we're open to the gallery. Is there anyone in the gallery who has something to say?
I'd like to speak.
Go ahead. All right, David, introduce yourself.
My name is David Levitt. I'm a member of Community Board 11. I will not repeat my statement that I made the last 2 months when the Bylaws Committee met and did not have a quorum to conduct business. I've made it clear that I think that the requirement for the district manager to make his monthly report should remain. I appreciate that the committee tonight is going to separate that to a straight up or down vote so that at the full board meeting this month, each board member will have the opportunity to go on record as to how they feel about that requirement. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has anything to say? All right, now we have the motion, correct?
Hello, my hand is raised.
It's,
Oh,
it's
it's
not
here.
on our side,
It's not
Roxanne.
on
sorry.
us, Roxanne.
You could go ahead and speak.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to, there's been lots of misinformation. First of all, many boards outside the Bronx not allow the public to speak in committee meetings. I have done that recently in 2 separate boards in Manhattan. Secondly, the public here does not have a chance to speak at the CB11 committee meetings because most of the time the meetings are canceled or there's no quorum and there's no minutes provided to know what was discussed in the prior month. Regarding public hearings are not to put things that you don't want to hear at the full board. Public hearings have the specific topic, and in fact, your public hearing held last month, the notice was sent at 4 p.m. before the day before the meeting. Barely 24-hour notice. And if you look at the city charter, you need at least 7 to 10 days notice of public hearing with specific topic and location, whether it's on website or in person. So this nonsense that the public hearing is where people can speak and don't have to sign up in advance is not true. And lastly, it's obviously seems like there's 2 people in cahoots that want to keep certain people out of the meetings when you barely have attendance in your full board, much less your committee meetings. You could have 0 attendance if you keep this up. And lastly, the DSC minutes. First of all, over a year, no district circuit meetings were held and no minutes have been done. I've been asking Harry and your district manager and even Cynthia, the chair. She says they're working on it for at least the latest DSC minutes. No minutes for the last 2 years have been provided to me, no posted on the website. So they're not being done. So ask for a copy before you say it's being done. It's not being done. It's a violation of the city charter. This is a serious matter that's just not being taken seriously. And then instead, like right now, Mr. Ryan say, "Oh, we want to stop her from saying this because I am and the district manager don't want her to say these things." Well, let's put a public hearing, but public hearing is not allowed. You gotta have a specific topic. You want to make it about DSC minutes, then do so and say who's for or against it. But you cannot just say we're going to put things that we don't want to hear at the 36 hours when your agenda is barely done in 36 hours in advance. That's unfair what you're doing to the public. You barely have 5 people in your gallery session. You're going to have 0 people now.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if you know, so remember, dissemination, false information is prohibited, and that was false information that was just provided. Within the past 6 months, I had to cancel maybe 1 DSC meeting, but other than that, there have been meetings, despite what certain people have said.
No, I have to prove 1 full year of no minutes, no meetings. I have to prove the BP spoke to him that he has to have the meeting. It resumed last year because of me. He hasn't held a meeting for over a year. I can send you the email from the BP's office.
Okay, all right,
All right, thank you.
sure.
All right, is there anyone else before?
Yes.
Robert has his hand up.
I
I don't know why you can't see
Yeah, I
it.
don't know why it's
Gotta
not
pull
coming
up
up.
the-
I don't know why, but okay.
Maybe I forgot to make you a co-host.
No,
Maybe
we got
that's-
it.
Yeah,
It's-
Bob's
it's
hand
in
is
the
up.
participant
Ready?
tab.
All right, I'm sorry, Bob, but go right
Ready.
ahead.
Okay, Article 5, Section 3, your bylaws say, standing committees shall meet when they have business or to conduct, or when the committee chair or executive board determines that there is a need to discuss ideas of importance to the committee. Now, your Parks Committee has met only 3 times this year. And because this month it's not going to meet on Thursday, it's been canceled already. So I don't know why you're getting rid of an ethics committee that's needed. And again, they can meet as needed. Now, what you should be getting rid of is your executive or leadership committee and merge them together. Because this is the only community board that has those 2 committees. Every other community board has only an executive committee, which has the officers of the board and the committee chairs. And lastly, when you went to the Economic Development Committee markup, you're forgetting that there's going to be cannabis lounges that is being proposed in the state legislature. So you should add that into your description of the Economic Development Committee, much like they have liquor licenses, have cannabis dispensaries, and you should add in lounges. All right, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that piece of information about cannabis lounges. Should we put it in?
I don't
We'd have
think,
to
Well, it
propose
hasn't
it.
been
It's
passed.
nothing
It hasn't
in the
been
legislature anyway.
All right, so we may have to update it later
If it
on,
passes
but
legislature,
not
then
at
we
this
can-
point. But thank you to bringing that to our attention, Robert. All right, now the motion, Veronica, which is the motion we wanted.
so do we want,
Go right ahead. I want you.
I make a motion that we accept the revisions to the proposed amendments to the bylaws with revisions that were discussed today. Because otherwise we're gonna go through a whole list of revisions. Unless we want to.
No, anyone seconded? I seconded, or Joanne seconded it. All right, do we have a vote? I vote yes. So all in favor, we have the 4 members who are present.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So the meeting
I
is,
thought that you were going to separate the,
we did.
no,
That
you
was
just had one omnibus motion. But you said during the meeting that you were going to have a separate motion about the district manager's report.
I thought we discussed that. We said we're gonna,
Yeah.
But you're about to close the meeting, but you didn't have that motion.
oh,
Sorry, Dover.
you're right.
Does it need to be presented exactly as it was here, or can it be presented separately in the full, I don't know what the,
I think we
Whatever
make
was
a
presented here, was
motion
presented
here.
at the full
All
board.
right, so then I make,
That,
And
yeah.
also separate the 36 hours you said.
gallery session is closed.
You
Okay,
pushing something on that
Gallery
note,
session
36
is
hours separate.
closed.
let me
Let me
just
mute.
make sure that I have it in front of me so I know. Section 10, right? Where am I using section 10? All this? What page is it?
13. Talking about
We're on page 13, 13.
13, okay. So I make a motion that we remove item 10 from section 2 of the district manager regarding presenting a comprehensive monthly written report on issues concerning and actions taken at DSC meetings as well as on other pertinent active matters affecting the community board.
That it remain, or
That
that,
it be removed.
Second,
Seconded by Ryan.
but I
all
thought
those-
we're going to make that motion to the full board.
All of these are being done to the
Right.
full
we have to
board.
do it here first.
Right.
Okay,
David asked us to do it separately, so we're gonna do that one separately.
okay. Thank you.
And so that was me, seconded by Ryan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any
I,
objections? Motion, oh, any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. So are we done for the bylaws now? I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Time is 7:22.
22.
And we'll meet you on the health committee. Thank you, everyone.